But will be rain with showers and thunderstorms.
A skeleton.
It's nice to know you're worth $2,500.
Once you're dead. That's right. We've got some clouds out there today.
Yeah, eventually some rain coming in. That's the good news for central and eastern Kansas anyway. The bad news, a possibility of severe weather. We'll check out the forecast now.
The station has the American Meteorological Society's seal of approval.
Well, actually, if you want to get picky about it, we do have some rain out there now. On Kake radar, a little bit between Wichita and Hutchinson, but most down to the southeast from southwest of Chanute all the way down into north-central Oklahoma. This is all moving northeast at around 30 miles per hour, and indicated by its light and green color, it's all fairly light precipitation. Some more of that out in western Kansas. The radar out at Garden City showing the usual large area of ground clutter, nothing we really need to worry about, but some light showers from Hill City down through Ness City to south and southeast of Dodge City. These also scooting northeast at around 30 to 40 miles per hour. Fairly light. That's the way it's going to stay, mainly because of the cloud cover we have overhead. If you're a little bit upset at having a cloudy Sunday, think again, because those clouds kept the sunlight out, and if we had had sunlight, we would have had massive severe weather this afternoon. So the cloud cover, although it didn't look particularly pleasing outside, saved us from a very rough afternoon. Some other folks weren't quite so lucky. We have some heavy thunderstorms going in southern Iowa and over to Illinois. There's a severe thunderstorm watch well into this evening for parts of that area, and down to the southwest of us in west central Texas, a tornado watch until 11 tonight. That's the result of this big system to our west that's beginning to move our way. It should slide right over our area tomorrow, bringing some more rain and the possibility of severe weather to us. We certainly have the moisture in place right now with a dew point of 60 degrees. Notice the pressure is falling. Southwest winds gusting to around 26 miles per hour. It feels stormy out there, even if there isn't a whole lot of rain at the present time. The high day in Wichita, 69 after a morning low of 62. The clouds kept the temperature change down to only 7 degrees between the low and high. At 5 o'clock across the metro in the 60s, most of that mid to upper 60s. So the temperature very comfortable outside, even if it does feel a bit sticky because of the high dew point. Central and eastern Kansas, mainly 60s, mid to upper 60s at that. Across the western part of the state, 171 at Hill City, a little bit more sun out there, otherwise 60s with a sole 70 down in northwest Oklahoma at Gage. Overnight, we'll call for lows in the 40s and 50s out to the west, even that above normal, but in central and eastern Kansas, lows in the 60s tonight, warmer than our normal high temperature at this time of year. For highs tomorrow, quite mild, either in the 60s or off to the southwest in western Oklahoma. We'll see some 70s popping up. So nothing wrong with the temperature and nothing really wrong with the rain we're going to get. That'll be spreading across the area tonight, mainly fairly light until tomorrow morning, but there's also a threat of severe weather. For tonight, generally off to the northeast and off to the southwest, none in our area, but tomorrow, as the storm in the southwest winds up and moves our way, not only will we have rain and thunderstorms, but also the possibility of some severe thunderstorms tomorrow. Could be a rough day for our area. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas, this evening, more of what we've had, mostly cloudy skies, a few scattered light showers and sprinkles around. Temperatures hardly changing all overnight, dropping maybe to the low to mid-60s for lows. Mostly cloudy overnight with light rain moving in toward morning from the southwest. Some of those showers turning into thunder showers tomorrow morning after sunrise as that system approaches from the southwest. Temperatures going up a bit, but not much. Highs generally only a few degrees above the lows for tomorrow morning. Thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Those will be heavy with heavy rain and also the possibility of some severe weather. And if you're waiting for rain, this is pretty good news. Not only will we have a chance tomorrow, but also again late Monday.
Meteorological Society's seal of approval.
Well, that wet stuff just keeps coming down.
It does. I've been trying to figure out what to say to you about this. We've used all the adjectives. It's yucky, it's dreary, it's nasty, it's...
As long as you don't do anything, that's what I'm concerned about.
Don't worry, I won't.
We've kind of cornered the supply on the local rainfall today. Everything's wet out there. The river basin is full of water. Here's what it looks like tonight out across Wichita. It's really a nice sight compared to the dry weather we had last year, but I think after 4 or 5 days of this, many of you are probably getting tired of it. In fact, you probably wish you could reach right through your TV screen and wring my neck, but that would be a mistake because then you wouldn't hear about our drying out this weekend. On the satellite picture, the key fact to note here is the spotty cloud cover right over here. Now that's spotty because there are thunder showers developing, and thunder showers are developing there because this end of the jet stream has finally started to move. By Sunday, it'll be far enough east that we'll be a northwesterly flow right up here, and that will kick the clouds and the rain out of our area for the time being. Now, the northwesterly flow will also bring down a cold front from Canada, but it won't cool us off much. Even on Monday, when the front comes through, we'll be a few degrees warmer than we were today. It'll move out quickly, and by late Monday, we'll be watching this next storm on the coast. It'll arrive in the area around Wednesday or Thursday, but up until then, Sunday to Wednesday or Thursday, our weather is going to be warmer and drier, so just hang on about another day or so. In the meantime, we have had some rain. It's been fairly light for today, over a quarter inch from Garden City through Dodge, Hutchinson up through Salina and Concordia. Everywhere else, just a tenth or two. But this has been going on just about every day the last 4 or 5 days, so it is adding up, and our soil moisture is in pretty good shape. The heavy rain all off in the southeast now, but sprinkles will continue off and on through our area, supplied also by some flurries over the western part of the state. And the clouds, of course, are going to hang on rock solid right until tomorrow afternoon, northwest Kansas, and Sunday for most of the rest of us. Moisture is still in the air out there with the dew point up into the 40s. Winds are out of the northeast, so they're very light, and they'll stay light tonight. Only a 5-degree range in temperature in Wichita today, and only 16 degrees across the entire state of Kansas. Much less than we usually have, and that's because of the clouds. So is our slow-changing temperature pattern, still in the 40s where we've been all day. Out to the west, a few 30s showing up, but not too far below 40 degrees. We'll see lows in the 30s and 40s across the area today. Most of those 30s overnight above freezing, and then tomorrow, highs in the 40s and 50s. And here's where things get interesting, right back up here. 50s in northwest Kansas, where it'll clear off tomorrow. The rest of us will have to wait until Sunday, but clearing will come, and when it gets here, it'll stay here for at least a couple of days. Here's the forecast now for your local area. Overnight, drizzle and fog, maybe even a flurry or two out to the west of the metro. Temperatures down in the 30s for lows. By tomorrow morning, rising up into the low to mid-40s with cloudy skies, not changing all that fast. Highs tomorrow, much like today, in the 40s with a few 50s down through north-central Oklahoma. The 5 days says we'll have the last of the rain in central and eastern Kansas on Sunday. Then the temperatures will be in the 60s and 50s and dry until late Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. And if you're worried about an extended dry pattern, here's the 6 to 10 day for Thursday through Monday. After our 5-day forecast, normal temperatures, which is kind of good news, above normal on the precipitation, so we'll get a nice dry break from around the latter half of the weekend to midweek. Then perhaps some more rain on tap for the end of next week.
Good. I'll be able to mow my yard. It's starting to grow with all that rain.
Getting real big. A slow, snail-like storm.
Yeah, although we're just getting rid of this storm, and actually it's just about time to start talking about the next one. Boy, are we going to have to wait for that one to get here.
Don't hold our breath, eh?
Don't hold your breath. It'll get here eventually, but not in the next couple of days. What it will do when it does finally arrive, we'll tell you right after this.
Meteorological Society's seal of approval.
Remember when our latest storm moved in? It seems eons ago, and the section of the storm that hit us first is now way over here, moving off the Carolina coast into the Atlantic Ocean. We're finally starting to dry out here. In fact, the last few sprinkles from this storm are dying out right now in central Oklahoma. The rest of the area is rain-free. We do have a little upper air disturbance that moved through late this afternoon, though. It's right in here, and it's kind of a jet stream disturbance there. And as it moves away, skies are clearing behind it, so the clouds are breaking up even as I speak over the rest of central and eastern Kansas, the western part of the state having already cleared. How far do we have to look to our next storm? Not very far, as it turns out. Here's a section of it down here in West Texas, off through New Mexico and Arizona. Trouble is, or actually the advantage, if you like the nice weather, is that it's very slow moving. As a matter of fact, we're going to have to look way out to the west to see the rest of this disturbance really centered over Arizona, and we'll have to go even further out into the eastern Pacific to find the next storm that will move east and finally push the Arizona storm our way later in the week. Now, the trouble is, this is a very slow-moving storm, too, and we have to look way out to the central Pacific, way out here west of the Aleutian Islands, to find the storm that will bump into this one so it can move east and bump into the storm now in Arizona so it can slide out of the southwest toward us, sort of a domino effect of storms. You know, as you might suspect, it's going to take a couple of days, so this storm won't really get its act together and move our way until sometime around Thursday. Until then, we're going to have some fairly nice and dry weather. The problem tonight will be the dew point, which is hanging in there at 43. That's not much lower than the temperatures, and with relative humidity so high, we're likely to have fog over the southeastern part of the state through the early morning hours with partly cloudy skies out to the west, but that should burn off shortly after sunrise, so most of that will occur while we're asleep tonight. The high today in Wichita, 54. Not really all that warm, but a bit better than the last couple of days. Tomorrow should be a bit better than today. Right now, temperatures dropping back into the 40s, not falling very fast, though, so most of our lows tonight will be in the upper 30s or lower 40s. And out to the west, Liberal still reporting 51 degrees with mild 40s even across the rest of the state. Some 30s through western and north-central Kansas tonight. Otherwise, lows won't even get into the 30s. They'll stop generally in the 40s. Highs tomorrow. And here's the good part with the sunshine. 60s across the north and the southeast. The rest of us will have readings in the 70s, and with sunny skies, that is going to feel magnificent. Even better, we got it in before the weekend was finally over. We'll have some snow showers up along the Great Lakes, rain showers along the Gulf Coast, another wee disturbance in the northern Rockies, but our weather finally for the rest of the weekend is going to be just great. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas overnight, we'll call for clear skies aloft, but don't forget about the fog down below. Lows in the upper 30s or around 40 in the metro. Light winds right through tomorrow morning. Temperatures back up to the upper 50s or around 60 under sunny to partly cloudy skies by noon. Tomorrow afternoon, highs topping out in the 60s, or in the case of the metro and south and west, in the low 70s. So a great Sunday coming up. The 5 days says will be a little bit cooler on Monday, although we won't get any rain or snow. Cool front coming down from the northern plains then, but we'll warm up quickly on Tuesday.
Get taken for a ride.
As always.
Thank you, Wilma. And when our official Comet Austin watcher, Dave Schaefer, checking in.
I can't report success tonight, although several other people told me they've seen it. Saw the planet Mercury, and Comet Austin was due to be just above that, but much too much moonlight and sunset glare out there for that tonight. A better chance to see it come mid-month, provided we get the clear skies we have tonight. And they're unmarred across Kansas and most of Oklahoma. Lots of clouds to the south there and lots of clouds to the north right now. To find out whether we're going to maintain our clear weather, we have to check on the jet stream. Now, we do have one branch running along to the south right down here. That's trying to force moisture up our way from Texas and New Mexico. But then we have the second branch, the northerly one, coming out of Canada. Every time the southern branch pushes some moisture up our way, we get a front right out of that northern branch to shove that moisture and cloud cover back down into Texas. That's what's happening right now, and that's what's going to keep us pretty much moisture-free for most of this coming week. In the meantime, we do have a dew point that's dropping down. Was in the 40s earlier. It's now 34. Winds are out of the northeast at 12. Behind that front, dropping temperatures down into the 40s in north-central Kansas. Still some 50s hanging on in south-central Kansas. And 40s out to the west. So we're not all that cool yet. But by tomorrow morning, we'll see some 20s across the Nebraska line, northern border areas of Kansas, 30s for most of the rest of us, including some temperatures down near freezing over most of the state, with the 40s pushed down to the south in Oklahoma. Highs tomorrow, despite the cold front, not all that bad. In the 40s in the northeast, which is a bit chilly, but 50s for most of the rest of us in southwest Kansas, where the cold air mass will be at its thinnest. 60s from there into the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle. So not too bad. Matter of fact, our weather is going to stay quiet for the next couple of days, much like it is now, with severe thunderstorms in Georgia, down along the Gulf Coast, and also a couple of severes down in west central and southwest Texas. But we're going to stay dry, and that's the way we'll be tomorrow. Despite the fact that we'll be behind the front that's just gone through, we'll still be in a little bit of cool air down from Canada. We'll throw in some sunshine to kind of offset that nicely. The snow will stay off in the Great Lakes, the thunderstorms off to the south in Texas. Our weather, although not quite as warm as today, is going to be just fine for tomorrow. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas overnight, we'll call for partly cloudy skies, clearing up to the north in a few hours, though. Temperatures down around the low to mid-30s in Kansas, bouncing back up to the mid to upper 40s by noon under sunny skies, which really isn't all that bad, and topping out in the metro around 55, lower 50s up to north central Kansas, 60s hanging on down to the southwest and Pratt and Medicine Lodge, also down into Oklahoma. So a real nice
day. And what does Dave want to talk about? Nasty weather.
Well, you know, good weather is kind of ho-hum, although it was nice to have it on a weekend. But we have some troublesome stuff coming up in the jet. We'll check on it and the temperatures over the next 5 days in just a minute. Seen on a highway Thursday night just west of Fort Worth, Texas, as severe thunderstorms with tornadoes and large hail moved through the area. We may be having similar weather in just a couple of days because of this disturbance now moving onshore over California. It's located right over about Reno, Nevada right now, having moved ashore from the Pacific over the past couple of hours. It's a rather modest jet stream disturbance, not creating much of a ripple as far as size in the jet stream, but it won't need to. As it rolls in, it should get things stirred up quite a bit. First of all will be the wind. That will stir up tomorrow afternoon. We'll look for wind gusts up to perhaps 40 miles per hour over our part of the country. Fortunately, they will be south and southwesterly wind gusts, so the wind will bring in some warmer temperatures for Sunday. And we may see a little moisture creeping up the Rio Grande River Valley toward western Kansas, and some isolated showers tomorrow afternoon out over the high plains. But I think the main show will wait until Monday when that jet stream wave moves right overhead, triggering off a widespread thunderstorm outbreak and very likely severe weather from southern Nebraska all the way through central and eastern Kansas down to the Texas Gulf Coast. Next week's Monday looks like the worst day in the next 4 or 5 or maybe even 7 days yet to come. All we really have to face tonight are some cold air that'll be moving in lately. We'll have some cool air moving in Tuesday, and then colder air kind of skipping by the area after those storms move by. And tonight, all we really have to deal with are some high, thin clouds moving in from the west. We still have some showers kind of located over the mountains here under these clouds, but those should stay in the mountains tonight. And as the clouds move out over our area, we'll see they're the high, thin type. No storminess from this mess tonight. We'll have to wait for that until Monday, which promises to be quite an active day indeed. Tonight, some clouds moving overhead, the precipitation staying in the mountains. Temperatures staying fairly mild. Winds are out of the south now at 8 at Mid-Continent Airport, and temperatures at 10 o'clock across central and eastern Kansas are down from Wichita's high of 62 down to around the 40s in most places over south central and eastern Kansas. 50s elsewhere, and still fairly warm out in the west with 50s with the exception of Hill City. 49 degrees there. We'll drop into the 30s for the most part tonight. Heat back up into the 60s and 70s for tomorrow. Gusty winds, remember, once again. Isolated showers out over the high plains. The main show holding off until Monday. Widespread thunderstorm activity over central and eastern Kansas then. A good deal of it likely severe, so watch out for that. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas, overnight we'll call for clear to partly cloudy skies, dropping down into the 30s over most of the area, but staying above freezing. Quickly back up to around 60 tomorrow morning. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies continued through tomorrow afternoon, but I don't think we'll see any rain tomorrow. High temperatures topping out for the most part in the low 70s, so that will feel quite nice. Monday, some rough weather, high around 70 once again. Cooling slightly on Tuesday and Wednesday, but staying in the 60s. A warm day on Thursday, back up to 75 then. Any storms after Monday will have to wait until late in the next week, and I think after Monday is finished with us, we'll be glad of that. Marty?
I think we will be. Thank you, Dave. Most people in Kansas...
Meteor to come down in my backyard.
And it will.
I figure I have a better chance at that than the lottery.
I think they haven't come forward with the tickets yet because they haven't, woke up from fainting yet.
That could be.
That could be. How's the weather?
Well, it's becoming interesting. Actually calming down for the time being, but that's just the calm before the storm, literally, and we'll find out what that will bring in just a minute. Modern meteorological equivalent of looking out the window is this satellite picture here, and our equivalent of looking down through a window in space shows one minor impulse moving out through eastern Kansas toward Missouri right now. A few sprinkles along the state line over the next couple of hours possible with that. And a larger, stronger storm out here in the Rocky Mountains centered on the Utah-Colorado border. This one is moving toward us and should be knocking on the door of western Kansas sometime tomorrow morning. That's why we're forecasting a few sprinkles to continue over the next few hours in far eastern Kansas and a few to move into far western Kansas late tomorrow morning. And for the rest of the night, clear to partly cloudy skies in between. That will change, however, and although the dew point right now is fairly low, those south winds are going to bring it up quite a bit later on tonight and tomorrow. Right now, the 50-degree dew point line, which is kind of a bellwether of severe thunderstorms, is down there around Abilene, Texas, but by tomorrow it'll surge right up into central and eastern Kansas, setting the stage tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening for an outburst of severe thunderstorms from Texas through Oklahoma up into at least south central and southeastern Kansas. So it looks like we've got more severe weather trouble on the way. In the meantime, though, we had a fairly nice day with a high of 64 in Wichita. Liberal in southwest Kansas hit 74, which is about as close to perfect a temperature as we ever see here in Kansas. Across the area at 10 o'clock, temperatures have dropped down, but not as much as they usually do this time of night. We're still in the 50s all across central and eastern Kansas. 60 degrees reported at 10 o'clock in Ponca City and out to the west. 50s from Colby through Hill City, right down through Liberal in the southwest. So a very mild evening so far, and it's going to be a very mild night with Kansas in the 40s. No temperatures anywhere near freezing and a few lows in the 50s right down there in central and western Oklahoma. Tomorrow's highs, not too bad either. 50s in northwest Kansas, otherwise 60s across the rest of the state and 70s down around Medicine Lodge and down into the western half of Oklahoma. The thing is, along with these warm temperatures, we're going to have some rugged weather, it looks like, for tomorrow. We'll call for thunderstorms and rain showers to be moving through Kansas and Oklahoma with a chance of severe weather. By Tuesday morning, most of that will move out of the area, but look right here. We've got a few rain showers and perhaps a few snow showers along with that, too. No accumulation, but here's where the temperatures for that will come from. By tomorrow, a front moving through Kansas with cooler air coming down from the northern plains. That will slide across the area by Tuesday morning. And fortunately, the real frigid Arctic stuff will stay just to our north. This stuff here will be just enough to change the rain showers into snow flurries, maybe for an hour or two Tuesday morning. And then as that colder air moves farther east and stays out of our area, we'll get the sunshine breaking out across the state, and we'll go back up to at least 50s or so for a fairly mild day. And we're going to avoid basically winter conditions on Tuesday. The folks up farther to the north won't be quite so lucky. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas overnight, we'll call for clear to partly cloudy skies. South winds at 10 to 20 and very mild. Mid to upper 40s for lows tonight, with the exception of Emporia and up toward Topeka. A few low 40s hanging on there, then up to around 60 to 65. By noon, under partly cloudy skies and very gusty south winds. The winds will continue to gust out of the south-southwest all through tomorrow. Mostly cloudy late tomorrow afternoon with thunderstorms breaking out first west of the metro, then moving into the metro area, and later tomorrow evening on into eastern Kansas and western Missouri. We'll expect that outburst, and that storm will last until early Tuesday. Perhaps a few snow flurries or rain showers then. Then it's dry right through Wednesday and Thursday as temperatures come back up to the 60s and 70s by the end of the week. Our next chance of thunderstorms after Tuesday will be sometime late Friday or Saturday. Marty?
Thank you, Dave. Something tells me you're going to be busy tomorrow. An early morning attack sent a Wichita.
Another weather change like spring. I remember what spring used to be like.
Well, it'll take more than 5 minutes to change. Listen, in spring, Kansas weather can be anything. You know, we actually had
it has been.
Little sleet up around Concordia today.
Oh, great.
I can believe that.
I can believe it, but I don't want to.
We're going to have a minimum of that kind of weather over the next couple of days, even though we are going to have a change. Yes, it is Kansas in springtime, which means quite variable weather. Nonetheless, the trees that didn't die in the drought last year are beginning to bud out and flower, at least those trees that do flower in springtime. Is slowly sliding into Kansas in a rather grudging way, I guess, and we're going to have more April showers over the next day or two, courtesy of this curvature in the jet stream pulling moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico. By early Saturday, though, this wave in the jet should slide far enough east to clear us out just in time for the weekend. That's the good part of the forecast. And although we do have another storm off in the Pacific, it won't really move into our area to bring us more showers until sometime early next week. And while it looks like a fairly serious storm system with a high likelihood of severe weather for our part of the country, we are going to get that break just in time for the weekend. Of course, you don't have to take my word for it. You can look at the satellite, which is always fairly honest. We have some clouds moving in right now. Most of the storm coming in still up off to the northwest, so we've got another day or so to deal with that. We've got a gap after this storm and then back out over the eastern Pacific. Here's the storm early next week. And as it slides in, it will give us more thunder showers and also a good chance of severe weather. We even have some showers out there now. Sprinkles moving out of eastern Kansas and moving into northwest Kansas. A few thunder showers, some more breaking out in the Texas Panhandle. These two areas will move in across the area tonight, so a good chance of seeing rain when you wake up tomorrow morning. Today wasn't a bad day out there. We have some moisture in the air with a dew point of 35. Winds are out of the east at 17 miles per hour, not the south, so we'll be slow to warm up tonight. We only got up to 49 degrees in Wichita today. A far cry from lucky Liberal, 65 balmy degrees in Liberal and southwest Kansas this afternoon. And across the state right now, we've dropped back down. In the case of Concordia, 35 degrees and 30s in Topeka. Otherwise, 40s to the state line and 50s to the south. Out to the west, a mixture of 40s and 50s. And for tonight, we'll see temperatures dropping mainly into the 30s in the north, otherwise 40s in the south, 50s in Oklahoma. For highs tomorrow, a few 40s in north central Kansas, otherwise down to 60s in southern Kansas and 70s in northern Oklahoma. And remember, we are looking for more rain showers tomorrow. A good chance of some severe weather from Wichita onto the south, but that will clear right out of the area in time for nice sunny weather on Saturday. Here's the forecast now for your local area. First of all, overnight, we'll expect more rain showers and some thunderstorms to move in. Temperatures dropping another 4 or 5 degrees from what they are right now. Then by noon, coming up somewhat in the metro to around 55. Rain and thunderstorms continuing through morning and most of the afternoon. Highs only in the mid-40s north, but around 63 in the metro. Low 70s down in north central Oklahoma. Holidays are so much fun for a weather forecaster.
And a lot of people are depending on you for
I
this
think
Sunday.
we can arrange for some fairly nice weather. I've had to fix in on this for quite a while.
Oh, great.
The problem is that the check will come due early next week.
Oh, no.
We'll worry about that then.
Yeah, that's right. It's the
Okay.
best way to deal with that kind of
That's
weather
right,
pattern.
not now.
Outside today, it was fairly nice, although it wasn't quite as warm as you might like for a baseball game. But if you love baseball, you don't let a little detail like that slow you down. In any event, it could have been a lot worse with heavy weather down in Oklahoma, which would have struck us if this storm system had been 12 hours earlier. El Reno, Oklahoma had up to 8 inches of golf ball size hail on the ground, and those storms are now continuing south into Texas. We've still got some sprinkles over southwest Kansas, but those are going to leave off to the southeast over the next few hours. as will the clouds themselves. So we're looking for clear to partly cloudy skies overnight, perhaps a bit of patchy fog, but that's about the worst we'll see in our local weather for the next 18 hours. The storm system that passed through earlier will be down along the East Texas Gulf Coast area, and here's the wave that's going to move that down that way. We'll be watching another smaller one up across the Idaho Panhandle, and as that slides down, we'll get some broken clouds tomorrow, but I think that will be the worst of it. The rain and snow from that one staying well off to the north, and we'll even turn around and just bump that thing farther east on Sunday, get a good, nice, warm Easter Sunday for a fairly good weekend. The trouble is, by that time, a wave will be brewing off the west coast. When that slides in, we'll get this pattern, and that's a great one for pulling up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And unfortunately, this is also a great pattern for severe weather for our part of the country. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, look out. They could be just a bit rough. Here's the storm that will do it out to the west right now. It's going to take a couple days to get here, though, so in the meantime, things look fairly nice. Dew points high at 42. That and light winds might help go into fog production later on tonight, so watch out for that. Early in the morning, it was 63 today in Wichita for the high, but 69 in Liberal for about the third day in a row. Temperatures dropping slowly down into the 40s and 50s now across central Kansas and across the western part of the state. Fairly mild, and we'll see some 30s across most of Kansas tonight. Those should be 30s above freezing, and tomorrow some nice warm weather, 60s and 70s for the most part, and fairly sunny skies. Only a few broken afternoon clouds floating through. We'll kick this rain off to the east on Sunday to complete a very, very nice weekend. And don't let this front scare you on Sunday. It should stop just to our north and hold that Arctic air off like a wall across the central plains. Nothing is going to interfere with our nice weekend weather. Here's the forecast for your local area. Clearing tonight, some patchy fog is likely across the area. That will form through the early morning hours as temperatures drop down to around the mid to upper 30s, and by sunrise tomorrow, we'll bump those back up to around the upper 50s or lower 60s under sunny to partly cloudy skies, very effectively burning off that fog early tomorrow morning after sunrise. And tomorrow afternoon, some broken cloudiness, especially in north central Kansas. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s, and believe me, after that we'll beat even those temperatures in the mid-70s or around 80 on Monday. But after that, our bill for our nice weather comes due in the form of severe weather from late Monday through about Wednesday, and that could be a real nasty episode.
Well, we all avoid putting off bills, so we'll do that with the weather.
That's right. We'll
A whole lot longer to find out what it's going to do as far as weather goes tomorrow.
Well, you know, in the old days, if you wanted to get a good scare, you consult a witch doctor. Now you have weather guys.
Yes, Dave Schaffer.
Especially in this part of the country. I know I've been ranting and raving about doom and destruction coming down the jet stream road the next couple of days, but really, the past day or two hasn't been too bad. We'll check and see if the nasty stuff is still on track in just a minute. You know, being a weatherman is the ultimate in paranoia. You're always sure something's coming down the pike that's going to mess up your forecast, and all too often, that's correct. Now, here is tonight's problem. An upper air disturbance over Colorado and into the Rocky Mountains off to the west. That's sliding southeast towards southwest Kansas and the northwestern part of Oklahoma. We are going to have a few sprinkles along the western border of Kansas, southeast Colorado, maybe down into the northern part of the Panhandle. But other than that, that western disturbance shouldn't cause us too much trouble. The rest of the area quiet, but down to the south, we're going to have some thunderstorms for a while. That's where the real severe weather was today. Several tornado watches in effect over this area. Tornadoes in the Fort Worth area and also in the general vicinity of Abilene. Some very vigorous weather. Large hail around baseball size reported in southern Oklahoma and northern Texas as well. These, fortunately for us tonight, are moving southeast, so they'll stay out of our hair, although the folks in Texas and Louisiana might have another 4 or 5 hours of severe weather to go before those storms down in that area finally quiet down. Well, we have a fairly quiet night. Now, don't get overconfident. In the long run, those storms are going to end up popping up over our area because we have the basic conditions in place. Unstable air, winds out of the south-southeast, out of the Gulf down at low levels, and as the wind direction changes to the west, the jet stream rides in overhead, and that change in direction and that unstable air is just what you need to have tornadoes. We'll have it for the next couple of days, and then a change will start to take place. Toward Tuesday, we'll see another big system move ashore out here. It'll kind of sink down into northwest Mexico and gather its strength, and if I'm being ominous, there's a reason for it. I want to get you ready for what this is going to do. By Thursday, it should swing right into our area, and it looks like we have the better part of a week of some very heavy weather coming up. Enjoy the quiet weather while you can. At the airport at 10 o'clock, the dew point's around 44. Winds are light out of the east around 7 miles per hour, and temperatures are just perfect. or at least almost. It was 70 in Wichita today. The state high was 75 in Liberal. We really haven't dropped all that much considering we're after sunset now. Still in the 50s over most of Kansas, 60s hanging on in Oklahoma. Out to the west, really the coolest reading is 49 degrees in Dodge City, but Liberal, not all that far away, still at 60 degrees. Now lows tonight will be in the 40s across Kansas, 50s not far to the south in Oklahoma. Highs tomorrow in the 60s over most of Kansas, 70s in the south and down into Oklahoma. So a fairly nice day temperature-wise and a good deal of sunshine tomorrow. But late tomorrow afternoon, we'll look for some showers and thunderstorms to form over our area. And there's a chance that some of those could be severe as far north as southern Kansas, so we'll have to watch out for that. And also for the next couple of days after that through about Thursday, courtesy of this big storm off the California coast that will be moving our way over the next 3 or 4 days. So get ready. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas overnight, we'll call for mostly clear skies. Temperatures dropping down into the 40s. No chance of anything like frost tonight. Bouncing quickly back to the 60s by noon under sunny to partly cloudy skies. Just weather really too good to waste on a Monday, but it's going to happen anyway. Highs tomorrow afternoon in the 60s and low 70s, and late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, some thunderstorms. And in southern Kansas, down into Oklahoma, some of those could be severe. We may have repeat engagements on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Temperatures staying fairly mild, but those warm readings also help to fuel severe thunderstorms. And it looks like we have quite a bout coming up this week, even if some of the finer details aren't too clear yet.
Looks like you're going to have one heck of a busy week.
Oh, it's going to be a busy. It'll go like that.
I bet. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, police are looking...
Rain out there tonight. Have you
That's
noticed
right.
that?
I don't know if you'd really call it severe drizzle, but it's
No,
What is
not
severe drizzle?
It might give you the idea the weather's going to be a little on the quiet side tonight, and that's a welcome change. Outside right now is Central and Hillside. Here's what severe drizzle looks like. Yeah, it's a little damp out there, maybe a suggestion of fog, but nothing more than a small inconvenience at that. And on radar, we don't have much more than drizzle. First of all, Cake radar. We have some sprinkles around the Wichita area and on up toward Emporia, and on the Garden City radar out west, we also have some very light sprinkles, maybe a few rain showers on the Garden City radar out in western Kansas, mainly down in the Oklahoma Panhandle and down toward Amarillo in Texas. And that's all we can really see by looking out the window or by radar. But satellite picture paints a different story. It's a big storm out there, and we've got a lot of it to go as it slowly moves through. What's more, out to the west in the Pacific, we've got another storm out here waiting to move in next week. But you'll notice between this one and the one moving in now, we've got a nice break here, and that's going to come over just in time for some nice weekend weather. Here's how things should go over about the next 10 days. Here's our storm and jet stream disturbance. It moves closer tomorrow, kind of flies in right overhead on Friday. By the weekend, though, it moves off to the east, and we're in a good weather pattern. But then early next week, looks like the old stormy pattern comes back again. So that means with the prospects of severe weather, tomorrow maybe just down to our south in Oklahoma and Texas on Friday, moves into our area, at least southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma. By the weekend, it's out of there down to the southeast. We're going to have calm weather, nothing severe over the weekend. But by next week, we're going to be right back in that old severe weather pattern. Next week could be a little on the rough side. Tonight, though, none of that kind of weather. We'll have some showers, maybe even a thunder shower or two toward morning or sunrise tomorrow morning. Otherwise, the severe weather, if there is any, will be way down to the southwest. It's going to be basically a quiet night across our area. And the relative humidity is way up there at 93% with the dew point up at 43. The result of the drizzle out there, temperatures not changing a whole lot. The high today in Wichita, 54 after a low of 46. Temperatures dropping now at 10, but not very much. Still in the 40s and 50s. In central and eastern Kansas, the same out to the west, and we won't see any 30s at all. Lows in the 40s across Kansas and northern Oklahoma. Highs tomorrow a little cool with 50s and some 60s, but 70s down in northwest Oklahoma. We'll warm up better than that on the weekend. Remember, for tomorrow, it looks like a wet weather pattern. Showers and, yes, even some thunderstorms moving in, and a chance of severe weather tomorrow from about southern Kansas down through Oklahoma and Texas, but the main thrust should be to our south through Oklahoma and Texas. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas, overnight we'll call for cloudy skies, light rain and drizzle, and maybe a thunder shower or two along the southern border by sunrise tomorrow. Temperatures staying in the 40s and warmer the farther south you go. That's the way it usually is, of course, and around 50 degrees in the metro by noon tomorrow. Cloudy with thunderstorms moving in. Some more of those tomorrow afternoon with the high temperatures making up into the 50s or low 60s, but nothing warmer than that until the weekend when we'll zip right back up into the 70s and maybe even 80 degrees on Monday. We'll enjoy that dry weather over the weekend, but late Monday and Tuesday, look for the wet stuff to move right back in. So we've got kind of a nice weather pattern. Really fairly considerate, giving us a break in the wet and severe weather through the weekend and then resuming kind of fittingly on Monday next week.
Despite the fuzzy drizzle tonight.
That's right.
Thank you, Dave.
Of Morning Drive, photojournalist Larry Buell introduces us to two of Wichita's morning teams.
Day 39, Mike and Mac, KXLK. Mike and Mac on a Friday. It's 8:51.
We call ourselves lowest paid, lowest rate. I started in 1963. Mostly it's been mornings.
Okay, winning ticket, $500 coming up in our 9 o'clock hour.
With Mac, probably the first time around, years ago, here. About 3 years, and been about 4 years this time around.
We got a couple of XL mugs for you. Just drop by, okay?
Okay, what's your address?
We're at 626 North Broadway, right across from the funeral home. Just follow the crowd.
There's a lot of energy in our show. As you can tell, Mike and I work well together.
It's the rest of this morning. Cloudy, occasional light showers. Thanks, Mac. You're doing a heck of a job here with helping me out here. What did you give me, War and Peace? Somewhere
It could be because we are complete opposites. Mike's from Baltimore, and he's very, very short. I'm from Kansas, and I'm very, very not very tall, but taller than Mike. Mike's not very good looking. I'm quite, as you can tell, I'm quite handsome. I'm intelligent. Mike's not very bright at all. I like sports. Mike doesn't know anything about sports. I like women.
We just try to have fun. I mean, seriously, we really do, and obviously we have a tendency to say things, me probably more than Mac from time to time. And I like to talk about things that are going on in the community. And when you do that, you're going to step on somebody's toes.
Back to the Future. KEYN FM 104. Good time oldies.
1, 2, 3.
Mornings, you know, you just do whatever you want, and always remember that it's easier to get permission than it is, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is permission.
No, we've not changed the letter.
Not a syllable.
Not a word.
These people deserve everything they get because they are the original
Knuckleheads in the news. Propane gas accidentally injected into a city water line caused 3 toilets to explode in separate...
It's very strange to me.
We're always right along the fine line of good taste, but never over it.
It's a pretty broad line. We're somewhere in the general vicinity of it. It's just real spontaneous. Tim and I have personalities that are very different, but they seem to work off each other.
Tony is so talented with all of the different voices and characters he does.
And now with this morning's oral interpretation of your lyrical clue, here he is, your host.
As time goes on,
the music we play is we call it pleasant memory retrieval music, because that's what it is, you know. The oldies is great. I love it. It's music I grew up with.
Wichita.
Let's talk a party.
That's a blast. Wouldn't have it any other way.
That's it for this edition of Knuckleheads in the News.
And tomorrow we'll visit 2 more morning teams.
Riding on their shoulders, morning drive time is the most important time period for most stations. And as you saw last night, a number of stations use morning teams to attract listeners. Tonight, in the final segment of Morning Drive, photojournalist Larry Buell introduces us to the morning crew at KKRD and KICT's Breakfast Club.
107 KKRD, Wichita's only hit radio. We're staring down the barrel of what appears to be a beautiful weekend.
I like getting up and knowing this is the time when people I feel like use the radio the most to get their information to start their day, and that makes it exciting. And I think a lot of the success of the radio station rides on what happens in the morning.
You're telling me I can make that tea time for the weekend then and be okay?
We're very lucky to be number one. It's when I joined the station, we weren't number one. We went through some different morning people. We tried different things. It's really, I don't know, we just have fun in the mornings. We play the hits.
107 KKRD.
People do tune in for the music. I don't think that Bo and I could go to another station and be number one like we are here. The music is a real tie-in.
107 KKRD, waiting for the star to fall. Boy Meets Girl.
Your favorite song?
Oh, it is. I love that record. I love that record. I had it cranked up here. We were jamming like salmon.
It's Friday. It's 20 past 7 o'clock.
Top 4. Cubs Top 7.
It's their business to keep you safer and healthy, so you can...
We do about 4 breaks an hour, and 2 of those breaks, Scott's with us, and Scott interreacts, and he's a main character.
If your FM sounds funny, it's gotta be the Morning Crew on 107 KKRD.
You like this?
Wake up, or eat sushi, wake up.
107 KKRD. Wake up or eat sushi. We have a lot of fun together, and we're friends, and I think that comes through on the air. I think it sounds like we're having fun, and we are. That's no joke.
And we're just trying to do some stuff that kind of fits with the music that we play, which is rock and roll music. And just like it's kind of off the wall sometimes, and a little wacky, a little zany, a little out of control, that's how we are. It's the very first T95 typewriter toss ever, and since it's Secretary's Day, what we're doing is we're heaving these donated typewriters off the third floor of the Holiday Inn here onto the Boss Target below. What you would think of Daryl while she heaves this typewriter.
What a shot! Hopefully entertaining. I mean, that's our mission, is to entertain. We're not heavily, we're not Peter Jennings here. We're just trying to entertain and have a good time. And we all work together really well. We really like each other, and that helps.
We want to thank Western Typewriter for donating all of these typewriters this morning. I mean, these babies are not cheap.
No, they are not.
But boy, they are now. yeah, they're not worth a poot right now.
The audience of experts, that's what we call our listeners, and they are just...
KICT95, Wichita's home of rock and roll with the Grateful Dead and the Breakfast Club. I'm Ron Eric. Good morning.
They're going to wheel me in. I'll have a walker, They'll have to expand the door to get my chair in or whatever. If I'm 80, you're never too old to rock and roll.
Be nice to work in
radio. A couple of days for tornadoes. This tornado touched down south of Wichita, Texas on Thursday evening. A large tornado there damaged a farmhouse, but unfortunately this one didn't cause too many injuries, although another one did just to the west of this area in Spearman, Texas. This video shot by KAKE storm chasers last Thursday. We also had quite a bit of tornado activity reported in central Nebraska last night. KAKE storm chasers were on the scene once again. And a lot of the weathermen like to tell you that large hail is often a signal of a storm that can cause a tornado. And in this case, that was certainly true, because after the hail stopped falling, down came the tornado, and this one lasted for quite a while. This is a big tornado, reminiscent somewhat of the tornado that struck Heston, Kansas, and earlier this year in central Kansas. This tornado continued off and on for over 2 hours, and at times several other tornadoes were visible, including this one. At one time, 3 entire tornadoes on the ground. Most of these occurred over open country, but several houses, towns, and a lot of tree damage reported throughout the central part of Nebraska. The tornado was very strong for quite a while, and at last, when last seen, was headed towards South Dakota, still on the ground. Now, that storm system has moved farther to the east, fortunately, but still caused some tornado trouble. Today in Illinois and Indiana, at least 18 tornadoes reported so far today. Probably quite a few more. One tornado near Bedford, Indiana, caused quite a bit of damage and also some injuries. And due to the system's eastward movement, tornado watches are now out for part of Lake Erie, Ohio, and parts of northern Kentucky. So, folks, although the storm has moved out of our area, it certainly is not over. Now, this is the jet stream disturbance that's helping cause those tornadoes. It's moved out of our area, so our weather basically was quiet today, except for the high winds this morning in central Kansas. By midweek, another weak disturbance will slip in. We'll get some storms, and by the weekend, with the jet stream bending back the opposite way, this will tend to carry the storms a bit to our north, and since the jet is rising up to the north, we'll warm up. So some more storms midweek, and then warmer and drier toward the weekend later on this week. But right now, we're in pretty good shape, hardly any cloud cover, and the weather, just about all possible weather qualities, is very quiet. Even, surprisingly, the wind, considering what was going on this morning, is down out of the south at only 6 miles per hour. That was not the case this morning. Now, often in Kansas, in fact, almost every day we get wind because of the difference in pressure between lows like this morning and high pressure out here. And we can represent the difference in pressures by lines. The closer the lines are, the faster the wind blows. And this morning, they were very, very close indeed. They're lightening up quite a bit now and spreading apart, so our wind is dying down, and we've had it for high winds around here for the weekend. But the allergy watch was dusted out today. Nothing but dust on those slides covering up all the mold spores. We'll try to get another count tomorrow. Highs today in the 80s in the warm end across Kansas, Wichita and Liberal. Down at 10 o'clock around the 60s and 70s. Still pretty mild, not only over central and eastern Kansas, but also over the western part of the state, including that 68 mile degree reading in Liberal at 10 o'clock in southwestern Kansas. Now, the weather tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, hardly a cloud to be seen. We'll take it easy on the wind, too. So while we have sunny skies and enjoy our Sunday to finish out the weekend, the storms will linger through the Great Lakes, down the east and southern coast through Florida, and another storm system will move ashore in the northern Rockies. But for the rest of the weekend, it looks real good for us. Our next storm out here in the Pacific won't really arrive till midweek. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas overnight, here's starting off the good weather. Winds dying down to around 5 miles per hour by early morning, although a gust up to around 20 is possible here and there. Clear skies overnight. Lows on the cool side, upper 40s, lower 50s, but still nothing that's going to cause too much trouble. Low to mid-70s by noon under sunny skies. The wind may gust up to 20, but most of the time less than that tomorrow morning. Dying down to 5 to 15 miles per hour tomorrow afternoon. So the wind quite well behaved for the rest of the weekend. Highs in the low to mid-80s tomorrow afternoon under perfectly, flawlessly sunny skies. And the 5-day says Monday pretty good too, except for having to go back to work. Into the 80s and 90s right through Thursday with lows in the 50s and 60s. Some thunderstorms possible on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the late afternoon and evening, but they will be spotty indeed. Kind of a summertime rather than a spring-like time pattern.
Dave, when are we out of the serious danger for tornadoes? I know they have their seasons. When is it over?
About mid-June, about another week and a half, 2 weeks. But that is on the average, and those words are real key because this has not been an average year.
So we're not over yet, but getting there.
Not over yet, but getting there, maybe, if things go the way they usually do. But this is not
I hate it when you qualify
yourself. This afternoon from you?
At least as far as thunderstorms, those of us that haven't had rain stand a pretty good chance in the next couple of days due to what I call the punctuation school of meteorology. We're going to talk about comet clouds in just a minute. To the comet clouds, just check out our chances of cooling substantially for the next couple of days. They rely on that cold front and the cool air behind it sliding down from Canada. Now, by Monday, this front will be running right down to Wichita, but on Tuesday, don't you know it, right back up toward the Great Lakes, and we're back in our warm weather. Looks like next week temperatures will be in the 90s at seasonal levels. I don't think we'll repeat again next week the unseasonably cool weather of last week. That's too bad there. We'll have a few thunder showers popping off along that trough, but not really enough to overwhelm those warm temperatures. Right now, we have actually this is 6 o'clock. We had a comet cloud over central Kansas down into Oklahoma. The comet tail here produced quite a bit of high winds and large hail down around central Oklahoma. The second comet out here, this one wound up even more tightly. It's caused a lot of trouble down the Texas Panhandle. Just south of Amarillo this evening, 4 inches of rain in 35 minutes, along with golf ball-sized hail, and wind so strong it was bending the trees clear over to the ground. They really got worked over there tonight with severe storms not only around Amarillo, but all across the Texas Panhandle. Those series of clouds have moved farther east now, and upper air disturbance blowing along the area. Our central Kansas storm has moved off toward eastern Kansas and Missouri and weakened. We've got a couple other clusters out to the west. One over northwestern Kansas, another blob over the Oklahoma, Texas Panhandles, and another one over Colorado. Now, what's going on right now is that blob number 1 is moving out. 2, 3, and 4 are moving in right now, so we do have more thunderstorms on the way. Here's what that looks like on radar. First of all, Kake radar. We have just a few light sprinkles left over in southeast Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma from the showers earlier, but new ones are finally starting to poke onto the map around Hays and up toward Hill City. Let's take a look at the Goodland radar now, and we'll get a better look at those. Mostly ground clutter around Goodland, but a large area of rain and thunder showers, none severe, right down toward Russell Springs and over toward Hill City and Hays. That is tracking east, so more rain on tap for just about the whole state tonight. The forecast will call for showers to cover most of Kansas this evening and across the rest of the state to really through the early morning hours. So a good deal of rain on the way. That's good news. There's the moisture with the dew point up to 68. Allergy watch down mercifully, ragweed even at 0. The rain will help keep things down tonight in that department. The high today in Wichita around 94. That's seasonal. Salina and Coffeyville, the high of 95 today for the state high. We're down in the 70s and 80s where the rain is falling fairly close to the 60s in some cases, especially out around Colby where some rain has been falling for the past couple of hours. Lows tonight will be in the 60s with highs tomorrow mainly in the 80s, mainly due to the lingering cloud cover. And we'll have quite a bit of rain tomorrow morning. That will start to push east tomorrow afternoon. Around the country, we have had quite a bit of storminess. Back off to the east now around Chicago and Wisconsin. Here's what that looked like, around 3 inches of rain around the Chicago area in Elk Grove Village. That's not the kind of water you want to drive through, folks. People drown and flash floods that way, even on city streets after that much rain, so don't ever do that if you see that much water on the road. Radar picture shows showers continuing in that area through Wisconsin. Also some more out over the Rocky Mountains. Those will stay stuck. We won't see a drop of that rain over the next 3 or 4 days. Here's the forecast now for your local area. For central Kansas, tomorrow, obviously, we're going to have some showers. For overnight period, we'll have some more showers, rain and thunderstorms down into the 60s for lows. By tomorrow morning, back up in the 70s, but rain continuing. Finally easing off to the east late tomorrow afternoon. The 5 day says the rain will generally ease off after Monday, although isolated showers will remain. Temperatures back up into the 90s for highs for next week. So I'm afraid our nice cool weather is simply going to come to an end temporarily.
That's bad news.
Yes, but you also notice that the normal temperatures are starting to go down now, so we are over the hump. We'll be seeing more of that cool weather before long.
And that's good news.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Well, the sounds of football filled era.